Grace be unto you and peace from YAHUAH the Father and Yahushua the Messiah, his Son. This is Brother David coming to you again with the same issue. The Sabbaths and the feast days are wrong. This is the revised edition, and this is part 2. Here's the culprit. You know, the Gregorian calendar, the standard in which the whole world follows today. Why does the whole world follow that calendar? Because these people are ruling now. They're the gods of this earth. They dictate the time, the seasons. They've even given you a name for your God. If you're following that Gregorian calendar to find your Sabbath days or your feast days, you're following the God of Pope Gregory XIII. His God's name is Tammuz. It's called Baal worship. They even have the Virgin Mary. She's not the Virgin Mary. She is Semiramis, and that child that she's holding is Tammuz, reborn. The T that you see for the cross is for Tammuz. It's not for the cross crux like we thought. It stands for Tammuz. These are the mysteries of the Roman Catholic Church. Now, these are the people who are ruling today. And they've given a name to the God that most people around the world serve. They've given you the calendar, and they've given you a name for your God. So if you call on Jesus, if you observe Easter, if you observe your Saturday Sabbath or the Sunday Sabbath, you are following a different God than the mighty one of Israel. Gregorian calendar facts. The main purpose of the Gregorian calendar is to change the Easter date. You got that, right? Earlier times, leap year was not included in this calendar. A section of Protestants in Europe thought it's a Catholic plot to denounce Protestants. When Britain adopted this calendar in the year 1752, you see how new this is? It sparked widespread violence across the nation. The English New Year began on the 25th of March, Lady Day, before the Gregorian calendar's acceptance. So everyone had different calendars up until Pope Gregory changed everything. And this is the calendar that most of the world uses today. The detail of the tomb of Pope Gregory XIII, celebrating the introduction of the Gregorian calendar on the 24th of February, 1582. The Gregorian calendar, with its leap years, is now used almost all countries worldwide. Much of the work was done by Aloysius Lilius and Friar Christopher Clavius, S.J., drawing from measurements using meridian lines in the Italian basilicas. So they've calculated how to bring in the beginning of the year using the sun. You see the presentation here? They're presenting this new calendar to the Pope. Look at the full picture. See the Pope on top. Look in the middle. You'll see them presenting the new calendar to him. But look, what is this on the bottom? A dragon. Now, why would you have a dragon as an emblem for you? Well, the dragon has given him his authority, his seat, his power, his dominion to distort everything that the Father has created from the beginning. Look at his standard, his royal crest. If you look at the top, you'll see his crown. See, it has 3 levels. It means that he has dominion on in the heavens, in the earth, and under the earth. On the sides, you see 2 keys. He has the keys to the kingdom. Their kingdom is now. This is the time of the Gentiles. This is their kingdom. If you come down a little bit under the crown, you'll see a little cherub with some wings on the side. They're showing you their place of origin from the fallen ones. You see in the middle of the big picture, they're showing you that the dragon is the one who has given them power. And then on the bottom, they have the image of that European with the 2 little pieces hanging out from under his chin. Those are called the tablets of the law. Not YAHUAH's law. Their law. Their law dictates that Easter is their feast day, their festival that they observe as Christians. A little math and a pope. By the 16th century, Europe, using the Julian calendar, was in something of a crisis. First, the Julian calendar had been losing days for centuries. Second, the Christians liked dating things from the birth of Christ. The Romans of Caesar's time, for obvious reasons, did not. The reason they did not because the Messiah wasn't even born yet. Third, the date of Easter, for reasons too complicated to relate, was calculated using a combination of the lunar cycle and the vernal equinox. Every year, Easter got a little further from the first day of spring. Pope Gregory decided enough was enough. So what did he do? How to make Easter on every Sunday. Time magazine. Easter, the day Christians commemorate the resurrection of Jesus Christ. If you're a Christian, if you believe in Jesus Christ, your feast day is on Easter. Not Passover, but Easter. It's observed on the first Sunday after the Paschal full moon. You see, I have that in purple. Very important point. The Paschal is Passover, full moon. Did you know that the Passover always comes in the middle of a month and it's always on a full moon? The 14th into the evening, into the 15th into the evening. Do you understand this? Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, full moon. Hold it. How can the full moon be on Passover, which is the 14th into the 15th, and be the beginning of month also, which is the first day? Think about that. The first full moon of spring, following the spring equinox. That day always occurs on March 21st. That's my birthday. Since I was a youth, they told me that I was born on the first day of spring. Now I see where they got it from. According to a decree, it was decreed by the early Christian church at the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD and the Gregorian calendar introduced by Pope Gregory in 1582. Okay, so we see who put this in place. has nothing to do with YAHUAH. They do not follow the way the Father has created time to be counted. They've changed everything. They changed it so that they can worship, glorify, and place a date on the resurrection of their God, Jesus Christ. I want you to understand this. Whatever calendar you follow, it is always dictated by the God you follow. Let me see if I can correct that statement. Whatever calendar you follow, there's always a God involved in the calendars that points you towards their worship day. So the calendar you follow shows you what God you're serving. I hope everyone understands that. So if you're following the Gregorian calendar and your Sabbaths is on Saturday, Sunday, whatever day they supply for you, that's who you're following. It's just that easy. Therefore, Easter can fall on any Sunday between March 22nd and April 25th. How can that be? Our Father has Passover, which Easter has replaced, by the way. He has Passover always starts on the 14th in the evening into the 15th in the evening. The Feast of Unleavened Bread. Always. It never changes. It is a fixed day. Throughout these videos, I want you to remember the 15th day. That is also why Easter and the church holidays leading up to that day, like Ash Wednesday, Palm Sunday, and Good Friday, are referred to as movable feasts. Their feasts can move around to any time they want them to be. But YAHUAH's, the Master of the Universe's feast days, are fixed. They do not change. But the Eastern Orthodox churches did not adopt the Gregorian calendar method of determining Easter's date and instead follows the Julian calendar, a solar calendar adopted by Julius Caesar in 45 BC. So you see, that was before the Messiah was even born. That's why they didn't start the year according to the birth of their God, Jesus Christ. The Julian calendar is 13 days ahead of the Gregorian calendar, meaning the Orthodox Easter celebration usually occurs later than that celebrated by Protestants and Roman Catholics. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica, the Orthodox tradition prohibits Easter from being celebrated before or at the same time as Passover. They know that our Messiah, YAHUAH, went to the tree at Passover. So they have to have their feasts to move around to address this issue, to make sure that Easter falls on the day that they needed to fall on, which would be Easter Sunday. So according to whenever Passover comes, which we know is at a full moon, they have to wait till that happens before they can set their Easter celebration. You can't have your celebration for the resurrection if he hasn't went to the tree yet, correct? They know this. So in 1582, Pope Gregory XIII ordered the implementation of the Gregorian calendar. You see how it all lined up, why he did this? To put Easter, their feast day, back where it belonged. He just shortened the year by what? 10 days. The last day of the Julian calendar was on October 4, 1582. And the first day of the Gregorian calendar was October 15, 1582. As a result, Easter happened 10 days earlier the next year when compared to solar events like the spring equinox. This, of course, created havoc for historians because some of the countries adopted the Gregorian calendar right away and others waited. To correctly document historical events near the time of transition, the historians must determine which calendar the historical document is referring to. Do you understand? Now, how can you calculate from the beginning of time, from creation, all the way down to when the Europeans were given their dominion on this planet, the time of the Gentiles, when they should rule? How do you calculate or prove that no time was lost at any point? You cannot. There are so many changes and things that happen through history that if anyone tells you that we're following the creation Sabbath and that they know exactly what day it's on, they are lying to you. It is impossible. The only way to find the Sabbath day is to do it according to the way that the Master of the universe has ordained. You look at the timepiece in the sky, and when you see that new moon, it is the beginning of months, and then you begin to count towards your Sabbath days. This is how messed up we are. But look, it brought Easter 10 days earlier. It brought it 10 days in too soon. The lunar-based Hijri calendar. The Islamic lunar calendar is made up of 12 months, each 29 or 30 days long, depending on the sighting of the moon. This is how they do it in Saudi Arabia and in the Middle East area, with the year usually 354 days long, 11 days shorter than its Western equivalent, which is the Gregorian calendar, which is 365 days, 10 days shorter than the lunisolar calendar, which is 364 days. Look at this. Jubilees chapter 6, verse 35 to 36. For I know, and from now on will I declare it to you. And it is not of mine own devising. He said, I'm not getting this from my own mind, from my own imagination, for the book lies written in the presence of me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, or they forget the feast of the covenant, and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles, after their error and after their ignorance. The division of days is ordained. I want you to understand what Jubilees is telling you. If you don't do it according to the new moon and the way that the Master of the universe has ordained it to be, you will forget the feast of the covenant and you will walk according to the feast of the Gentiles. Verse 36. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, and how it disturbs the seasons, and comes in from year to year, 10 days too soon. Let's deal with the calendar that's in the Middle East. How many days does it bring the year in too soon? 10 days. Theirs is 354, ours is 364, according to the book of Enoch. Look. What about the Europeans? I want you to understand, the Hijri calendar was before Pope Gregory even came into existence. They were doing this new moon observance. And still, a lot of the countries are doing it today. They haven't fully adopted that. Mohammed bin Salman has. He has changed the calendar to the Gregorian calendar in Saudi Arabia. Time is getting short, brothers and sisters. Everything the Bible tells you is going to happen is happening now. Men have been trying to define all of these things in the past, but they were looking at past events. Here, everything is present. What the Father is telling you is going to happen, and it's going to happen right in front of your face, and you won't even notice because we're too busy getting money. Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. Again, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Who are destroyed? The world or the children of Israel? He's only talking about his people, the children of Israel. Listen to what's going to happen to you if you reject this knowledge, if you do not take it, tear it to pieces, and study every single inch and facet of it piece by piece. If you don't do that, look what's going to happen to you. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. You are supposed to bring forth the oracles of the Mighty One, and we're not supposed to follow the Europeans or anyone except for the Scriptures, brothers and sisters. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of the Mighty One, I will also forget thy children. Look at the outcome. You forget his law, and the primary part of his law, brothers and sisters, what we're missing is his Sabbath days, his feast days. They are a sign between you and him. If you forget them, he says, I will also forget thy children. Continue to part 3.